Alright, welcome back to the another video on building multi-purpose Laravel and Livewire application. So in this video we'll be working on form validation using Livewire, and we'll be saving those data to the database. So let's get started. And before moving ahead, let's fix this part first. Here I don't see any active link, and this part is not working, so let's fix this. Let's head over to resources views layouts, partials, and aside.blade.php file, and over here if we add the active class, then this part will be active. So let's make this dynamic. So if the request is admin/users, then let's make it active, otherwise let's do nothing. Okay, also let's add the route here, route admin.users, as we have defined on web.php file here. Okay, now let me refresh the page and let me go to dashboard and let me come back to users, and it is working perfect. Now let's start on form validation part. So if someone submit this form, here it is not working, it is not displaying anything. So let's do this now. Let's go to list users .blade.php file, which is inside of our resources views, Livewire admin users and list users. Okay, now let me move this form element over here. Okay, and let me remove it from here. And after closing of this div, let me paste. Let's close this form part. Okay, so we can do button type submit here. Okay, so now someone submit this form wire submit, let's prevent the default action and let's do create user. So we need to create this method inside of list users component class. Okay, over here, which is inside of resources, which is inside of app http livewire admin and users list user. Okay, so let's create that method called create user. Let's tie and dump here. Okay, now let's try this out. If we click on save button, now we are seeing this output. So actually this is working. Okay, now we need to do wire modal to get the input that user entered. So let's do that part. Let's go to list users.blade.php, and over here let me do wire modal equals to name. Okay, now inside of list users, let's create that property called name. Okay, now let's try this out. If I entered something here, then we see some weird issue while using Livewire. Also, we don't see any error here. So actually while using wire modal, it sends a request to the server when we make any changes to the input. So to fix this, let's use wire modal.defer. The only difference between wire modal and wire modal.defer is that wire modal sends multiple requests to the server once we make changes to the input elements whereas wire modal.defer only sends one particular request to the server when we click the save button of the form. So let's use wire modal.defer instead of wire modal. Okay, now let's try this. If we make any changes over here, then it is working. We are not seeing the issue like before. So if we hit the save button, it is working as well. So now let's do wire modal here as well. Wire modal.defer equals to email, and here wire modal.defer equals to password, and here wire modal.defer equals to password confirmation. Okay, now we need to create those properties, otherwise we will get error when we save. Let's do something here. Yeah, it is saying property email not found on the component, so we need to create that property. So public $email, public password, and public password confirmation. Okay, so instead of creating these multiple properties, I prefer creating one particular property called state, and let's make it empty by default. So let's remove everything from here. It will be more cleaner than before. So now instead of list users.blade.php file, let's change to state.name and state.email and state.password and state.password confirmation. Okay, now if we do tie and dump this state, then we should see every input that user made. Okay, let's try this out. Let me use form filler and then save. Yeah, we see password confirmation, password, email, and name. We are getting those input. Okay, perfect. Now let's validate those input. Now currently if we submit, if we click on save, we are not performing any kind of validation. So now let's validate. Let's do validator, make the validation for those state, and the rules are name is required, okay, and email is also required, and should be email, and should be unique in users table, and password is also required and should be confirmed with password confirmation. Okay, now over here let's call the validate method, and let's tie and dump here. Okay, so now let's pull this validator. Yeah, I pulled this class. Let's save this file and let's check. Now if we enter something, let me use form filler. Yeah, it fills the form, and let me hit the save button. It is saying that best table of view not found. So first we need to create the database. Let me go to php.my-admin, login over here. I have already created the database which is currently empty, called Laravel Livewire. So let's set this up. Okay, let's move to .env file and let's change here Laravel Livewire, and for me the username is admin and password is password123. Yeah, enter your credentials and let me do PHP audition config cache. Okay, now let's do PHP audition migrate. Yeah, now those tables are created over here. Yeah, now let's try by clicking save button again. Yeah, again we see one weird issues that modal is hiding, and we see this screen. So to fix this, we need to do, let's go to list users template.php, and we need to ignore the DOM changes. So we need to be careful over here. So inside of this main div, let's do wire ignore. So now let's fill up this form, and let me hit the save button, and this is working. We don't see that issue anymore, so this is working. Okay, now if we don't write anything over here and click on save, then we don't see any kind of validation. So let's do that now. Now let's go to get bootstrap. Okay, now let me search for form validation. Okay, over here we need to use invalid feedback to display this hand design. Okay, so let's try this out first. Class invalid feedback, the name field is required. Let's try this out. It's now working. So we need to do is valid, I think. Yeah, so let's make this dynamic. So if there is error for name, then we will be displaying this div. Okay, and error, and here let's display the error message, and over here as well, if there is error for name, then use this class, so otherwise don't use that class. Now let's refresh this page again and click on add user and save it. Yeah, again we see some weird issues. Yeah, we don't see any console error as well. So what is going on? So to fix this, we need to go over here and see the wire ignore. Actually, wire ignores every DOM changes for children element as well. So to fix this, we need to do wire ignore.self, so that it will only ignore this particular div element, not the child element. Okay, so we need to be very careful over here. So we need to do wire ignore.self instead of wire ignore. Okay, now let's see if this works. Yeah, it is working perfectly fine this time. Okay, now let's do the same for email, password, and confirm password as well. So let me copy this code, and over here let's paste this, and this is for email. Also we need to do here if there is error for email, then we need to display is invalid class. Okay, and for password let's do the same. There is error for password, and let's add this invalid class. Okay, now let me refresh and try this again. Yeah, everything is working. I think if we change to name, then this validation should be removed. Okay, then if I change to John, so first let remove that HTML validation over email. Let's make it text to check this out. Okay, John, and if we save, then it is displaying another validation error. So this is working perfectly fine. So now let's go to list users, and let's save those data. Save those validated data as validated data, and let's die and dump validated data with the validation passed. I forgot the semicolon. So if the validation is passed, then we are getting those validated data. Okay, perfect. Okay, now let's save those validated data inside of a database. So to do that, let's do user create with validated data and return redirect back. So let's pull this user class. Okay, user class is imported, user model is imported. So let's try this out, and let's fill up this form and click on save. There. Now I think we are saving those data to database. So let's go to users. Yeah, those data are saved now, but we are not hiding the model when we click on save. Yes, we are not hiding the model. It is displaying over here, so we need to hide this model. So we can use to hide this model, we can dispatch the browser event to hide the model. So let's do, after creating the user, I need to hide the model. So let's do this dispatch browser event called hide form. Okay, now let me go to resources views, layouts app, and over here at the end let's do window dot add event listener called hide form, and let's do find the model with the ID of form, and let's do model hide. Okay, now let's check this out. Let's fill this form and click on save. Yeah, the model is hiding now. This is perfect. Also we are saving those data to the database. Yeah, this is good. Now let's dynamically display the data over here. Okay, now to do this, let's go to list users, and over here let's use for each users as user, and for each. Okay, now if we refresh this page, we see this error call undefined variable users. So we need to pass that variable from list users. Yes, over here let's do user, get the latest one and paginate those. Okay, now let's do users and user, so that we'll have access to the user variable, users variable. Okay, we have already pulled the model, so now I think it should work. Yeah, we are displaying these free data from database, so let's make this name and email as dynamic as well. Okay, let's go to here, and this is user name and this is user email. Okay, yeah, this is working. Now to make this 1 2 3, let's do loop iteration. Let's remove this. Yeah, okay, now this is working perfectly fine. So one thing we forgot is to decrypt this password, so let's do that. Let me go to list users, and over here let's do validated data, and for the password let's do decrypt validated data password. Okay, now let's try this out. Let me fill up this form, click on save. Yeah, now we created the data and we also decrypt that password. Perfect. So I hope you like this video, so don't forget to like, share and subscribe to this channel. I will be uploading the videos like this, and in the next video we'll be working on editing and deleting those data. So till then, have a great time, and I will see you in the next video.